button did I just press? Okay, cut. Okay, so that is. Sorry, I apologise in advance if I'm now getting this shitty song stuck in your head too. I don't know what to say. You will not leave.
I need a little sign to just hold over your shoulder like, help me. Blink 3 times if you need help.
We're on. Hi, I'm Zoe. Welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we're going to be making our most viral soap bar, which is called Watermelon Scrub. And this is my first ever soap making YouTube video, so let me know your thoughts. I think the reason that this soap is so popular is just because it's so fun and it kind of looks like a watermelon, I suppose. I thought it only right that this would be the first ever soap that I make on a YouTube video, so let's dive in. So because of all the really strict UK laws, I have already done my batch sheets for today, which go into our product information files. And what goes on those sheets essentially is just all the ingredients that I've used and what batch numbers those ingredients are from the suppliers. Because just on the off chance that a customer may have a reaction, then we've got the full traceability of when the batch was made, any issues that may have occurred, what ingredients were used and what batch numbers. So if we don't think that we've caused the issue, we can go back through to our suppliers and tell them, hey, with this batch number, we had a customer say, I don't know, my skin went red or something, I don't know. And we can ask them if they've had any other issues with any of their customers. We've actually never had a problem like this before, touch wood, but it's just traceability, we have to do it. So yeah, I'll let's do my sheets before we get started so the boring bits out of the way. I've got all of my oils melting in the pan. I like to melt my hard oils and my liquid oils all together. This is just shea butter on the top that we're just waiting to melt now. This is actually organic shea butter. Look at all these oils. I'm gonna give these probably like 5 more minutes to melt down. It's always good to be organised when you're making soaps. A lot of things can go wrong, even if you are an experienced soap maker. So I've got all of my lye here. This is the magic ingredient that turns the oils into soap. And I've already got mine measured out into the sizes that we need for the soap today. I've got my 3 different buckets or like jugs for the soap as well. You'll see why I need 3 different sizes soon. I've got my micas, my fragrance, my mould at the ready. This is from the wonderful Winston & Walter. I love these molds. I think I've got about 8 of these or 6 or something like that. And I use these all the time. They're amazing molds. I've also got my stick blender at the ready. I still use a very basic Amazon one, to be honest. I don't have an issue with it. I've got a few of them. I think I've got like 3 or 4 and they're just why can't I speak? These are awesome, they do the job. So I've got everything at the ready, my scales at the back, I've even got my cup here ready for my fragrance oil. I'm gonna get this measured out now and my colours, and then we can crack on with making the soap. I'm just covering the scales because my recipe is still secret, but I've just poured in the first lot of fragrance oil that I need for part 1 of this soap, so that's ready to go. Right, I'm just gonna pour out the first lot of oils that I need, and watch me spill this now because I've got a camera on. If I ever go quiet, it's because I'm concentrating. This is one of those skills that you get really good at. You know, like when you're in a workplace and you get really good at random skills. Mine is pouring oils from a really big container. Anyway, that's the first lot of oils and they're ready to go. Okay, so I've got my oils, my butters, mica and kaolin clay in here. What I'm going to do now, before I add in my lye, I'm going to disperse all of the powders in there to make sure it's all sort of like fully incorporated. Because at this moment in time, I've got all the time in the world. It's just oils and the colours. So you'll see how it blends in just a moment. Just going to scrape down the sides with my spatula. And what I'm doing is I'm going down to the bottom, all around the sides, because sometimes the powders can float and sometimes they'll sink. So we just want to make sure that it's all incorporated. And I think that's about there now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add the fragrance in. And I'm being very, very careful not to create any bubbles here. So I just poured it down the stick blender. Just give that a little manual mix around. And then we're gonna add in the lye. Now this stuff is dangerous. It will burn your skin, which is why I've got long sleeves on and gloves, and I've also got goggles on as well. Now when I pour this in, I'm gonna pour it down the stick blender. I'm gonna aim for this part here, because what that will do is it will ensure it trickles into the soap without it being thrown in and making more bubbles in there, because if we have bubbles in the soap, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, it'll ruin the design a little bit. So let's go. Tap out all the excess. Now I've got my stick blender on the lowest setting here, because with soap, if it gets too thick, there's no going back. It's not like it would be if you're making cakes or making cookies or anything. You can add more water or add more flour. With soap, when it gets thick, that's basically it. So you're always better off starting off slow and working it up as time goes on. You can see here how it's got a bit more opaque. That's because I've now added in the lye with the oils, and it's starting the saponification process. And the saponification process is just literally where the oils turn into soap, and it takes about 24 to 48 hours normally. Right, I'm gonna blast this a little bit more. You should start to notice it get a little bit thicker now. Can you see how it's all just one smooth consistency? This is exactly what I'm looking for. Now, this is what I'd call a light trace, where if I dribble the excess on the top, you can see a few little lines in the soap. This is generally how I like my soap to be when I pour it, so I'm gonna stop right there. First of all, I'm just gonna scrape off the excess off the stick blender, because we don't want to waste anything. And we're gonna use this stick blender on the next layer. So I just wanna wipe off all the excess so the colours don't mix too much with the second part of the soap. Okay, let's get this in the mould. Oh, it's starting to thicken up a little bit now. Now I've got this soap remaining in the bowl. I'm not going to waste it. We're going to go in and we're going to scrape as much as we possibly can out of this bowl. We really don't like wasting anything. There's no point in wasting the soap here. It's perfectly good to get in the mould. And what I'm doing here is I'm just tapping the soap into place, because it's starting to get a little bit thick. And if I just scrape it, it will just start leaving really harsh lines. So I'm just tapping it, and I find that's quite a good way of maneuvering it into the spaces that you need. Okay, right, I don't want the line to be perfect, so I'm gonna leave it just there, and we're gonna crack on with the next layer. So I'm just pouring in my next lot of oils. This time it's only a really thin layer, so I'm just going to do a small amount of soap. There we go. Okay, we're back for another layer. Now I'm just going to take my stick blender from earlier, pop this in the oils, and I'm going to disperse the titanium dioxide and the kaolin clay. Now, titanium dioxide can be a little tricky to disperse, I've found, so it normally is a little bit longer of a mix than the other colours. Okay, let's add in the fragrance. Give it another mix. And then we're going to add in the lye. Now for this layer, because it's such a thin layer going into such a big mould, I want it to be really, really thin in trace. So I'm not going to let it get too thick for this one. Tap out all the excess. That will do. Scrape off all the excess off the stick blender. Looks like there might be a little bit of excess of colour at the bottom, so I'm just going to give that a scrape with my spatula. Scrape the edges. Right, I'm happy with that. Let's get it in the mould. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I don't want this colour to break through to the green layer, so I'm going to put my spatula down first and then pour the white in on top. Now, because there isn't a lot of soap going in here, I do just need to use my spatula to direct the soap into all the corners and all over the soap bar. Oops. Quite a lot of multitasking to do here. But the good thing is it's quite a liquidy soap that I did this time, which is obviously what I was going for. So this just allows it to run into all the crevices and just get in every single space that we needed to go. There we are, look how flat the top is on that. That looks amazing. I don't even need to maneuver it this time. Perfect. Right, so we're on to the last layer now. I've got all of my ingredients in my bucket ready to go. Let's give it a mix. Okay, I'm happy that all the powders are mixed in, so I'm now going to add in the fragrance. And then we're going to add in the lye. Oops. Still being careful not to add too many bubbles to the mix. I've got this on a low setting again, just so I don't go too quick. And with these bigger amounts of oils, I do just ensure that I'm going to the top and to the bottom to incorporate it all in. And I don't want this too thick. I want it to be a little bit runny, just so I don't have any big gaps in the soap when I pour it into the mould that I could miss. Oops. When you hear that quack sound, that's me accidentally putting bubbles back into the mix. Obviously I'm trying to avoid that, but sometimes it can't be helped. Right, it's a pretty good consistency, but I'm going to go a little bit longer. And these little black bits are poppy seeds, I might add. The poppy seeds are a staple piece of these watermelon soaps. It's what makes it look more like a watermelon. Right, I'm really happy with that consistency, so I'm going to scrape off the excess. Don't forget to get in there as well. There we go. I'm going to use my spatula to scrape down the sides because I can't see them this time, but there's normally a little bit of mica that's lingering on the edges, and I'm just scraping the bottom as well. Okay, right, I'm ready to get this in the mould. Now, I also don't want this to break through to the white layer, so I'm going to try and aim this onto my spatula as well. And again, this just breaks the fall. If I let it go, it would just pierce right through the white layer and potentially the green, and it would just ruin the design with this look that I'm going for. And this also just prevents there from being too many bubbles as well. Oh, this is actually like a really perfect pour. Now that I've kind of got it to the top, I can just pour it in. Now, I always have like what seems to be a little bit too much soap with these moulds. So before I add in the last bit, I'm just gonna make sure it's all tapped into the corners. Lovely. And then we can get the rest in. Trying to make this soap as flat as we can. So I am trying to get it to all the sides, and you can see in my bucket as well I have no excess mica at the bottom, which is awesome. That means it's all been mixed in, and we're going to have zero waste. Well, maybe not zero, there's always a little bit of soap that's left in here, but I'll do my best to get every last bit out. It's a lot easier to scrape out the excess when you've got a bigger container, I find. And then don't forget the little ridge. Perfect. Right, I'm gonna let this sit for about 5-10 minutes, and then we can do the soap top design. Okay, let's do the soap top. I do the same design on these soap tops as I've always done. It's kind of like my signature, I suppose. And I'm doing it in this direction because the soaps are going to be cut in a direction towards me. You'll see in a couple of days what I mean. And I don't know what it is about it, I just find it just so therapeutic to do. I know a lot of you find it therapeutic to watch as well. Oh my gosh. I never get over like just how like satisfying this is. It's kind of like a yogurt sort of texture. Oh, perfection. Look at the soap top. Looks like scales, doesn't it? So cool. So we're gonna let this sit for a couple of days, and then we can cut it and I can show you what it looks like on the inside. So here's the watermelon soap after a couple of days. It has changed colour a little bit, but this is just what tends to happen with soap. Let's start the cutting process and we can see what it looks like on the inside. Ooh. Okay, let's peel off the sides of our mould. Let's see what it looks like. So what we're going to do first, we're going to cut this slab into loaves. And then when it's in loaves, we can then cut it into bars. This is the awkward bit, getting it out of these moulds. Oh, wow, that green is vibrant. Okay, right, I've got to gently lift this out. Ooh. Okay, take this out of the way. Look at how cool the bottom of the soap is. So this big circle is where it's gone through what we call gel phase. That essentially is where it's got the hottest, and the edges haven't got quite so hot, which is why they're a little bit softer and they're a little bit of a different colour. But let's get this cut into loaves. We can see what the inside looks like properly. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to scrape off these little ridges off the top, because it just makes it a little bit easier to cut. You'll see in a minute why this will be. This is quite a pale pink actually, and I think it's because I did notice that our supplier had changed the pink to be a little bit of a different shade, like really different. I've been using the same mica for about 3 or 4 years now, and it's like a weird different shade, so that might be why. I think it's going to be this beige colour all the way through, which is a bit of a shame. Okay, so this is the log splitter, the log cutter, and as you can, we get it from Good Speed. As you can see, it's got these like steps on the side where the wire goes. This is just a guitar string. It doesn't hurt, doesn't hurt my finger or anything. I get asked that question quite a lot. This just sits on the ridges, so it's parallel on both sides. It's nice and straight, and it keeps it in the right place. As you can see, as it's actually going through the step now, so because these ridges in the first place aren't in a position exactly where I need them to be to have the correct width on all of my loaves, what I use is a bit of cardboard, this sort of width, which just gets these steps to the right point. Obviously over time my wire has actually cut through the step, so it's almost actually at the point that I need it to be anyway, but we use the cardboard for 2 reasons: to help it glide through on the soap and to get it to the perfect right height. So let's do the last 2 loaves out of this slab. We're going to do a bit of a different direction for this. So what we're going to do, let's bring you guys round. We're going to put the cutter on the edge. Now, I always figure out which way around to do this way. It's got little feet, which I can lean against the table, like so. I'm going to put the cardboard down this time, but enough over the edge which I can just lean the soap on. And then we're going to pop it on and then push it through. This time I'm making sure that I've got force on the soap against the slab and against the cutter, and then forcing it through with my fingers like this. And then what I do like to do, obviously take this one off. Oops, I'm trying to do it at a different angle, it's throwing me off. What I do like to do next is just put it through again, because I always have a little slither that's just a little bit too much. And we will sell that as soap scraps, or if it's big enough, we'll cut it into samples. Yeah, I've got quite a big slither on this one, that's expected. There we go, so what I'll probably do is just cut this into little sample bars and then just sell them as samples. Okay, side note, we've now changed the name of samples to minis, because I have a lot of US viewers and just people in general actually are like, why are you charging for samples? And I'm like, they're not actually samples, they're just mini products. So I keep calling these samples. They are minis. They are about a quarter size of a regular bar. So yeah, these will get cut up into minis. I've been saying samples for 3 years. It's really hard to unsay the word. But anyway, we've got these cut into loaves now. Let's put them to the side, clean everything down, and we can get the multi-wire cutter out and turn all of these into bars. Right, so we've got all of our loaves here. We have 6 in total. And here is my multi-wire cutter. So on here, we've got our guitar strings. And what these will do is this will come through and just push through the soap and turn them into bars. It's just like it would be if you had like a cheese cutter or cheese cutter, cheese slicer, whatever you call it. Anyway, let's get the first loaf on here. And what I am doing is I'm just lining it up so the edges of the soap are going to be chopped off, because as you saw earlier, the edges of the soap tend to be a bit different in colour, and the design generally doesn't reach all the way to the ends if you have quite a complex design. So it's just good practice to chop the end pieces off so that you've got the fresh insides of the soap. Let's push this through. Take off the end pieces. Now we're not going to waste these. These will either be cut into samples if they're the right size, or we'll save these for a soap scrap and odds day and we'll sell them as soap scraps. And basically when we do that, you can just use them as little mini soap bars and nothing goes to waste. Let's take some from the middle, because the middle slices are always the best. Ta-da! We've got watermelon. How cute. Now those light bits will always stay pretty white, although it will go a little bit more pastel-like, should I say, after a few weeks. But yeah, that's it. That's watermelon. Let's get them all chopped up. I love how, you see, can you remember earlier how we did the bottom layer a little bit wavy, and then the white layer was so thin, it went on so flat. That's why we've got a flat line, because of how flat it went into the mould. It's amazing what a difference it makes, isn't it, when you don't flatten the bottom, like the layers. Because I think with these soaps, like, they do look good when all the lines are completely straight, but I think it does look quite nice how the green is a little bit wavy. Do you know what would have been nice actually is if the white was a little bit wavy too, but we can do that on another batch. So I'm just wiping down the strings in between each cut, because these bits, because they've created like a bit of a layer on top of the string, if I push that through the next loaf, what would happen is it would leave like scratch marks through the soap, and it just wouldn't be very smooth like these bars are, for example. So it's just really good practice to wipe them all down as you go along. And you may notice as well, the loaves that I'm doing at the minute are the ones from the inside of the massive slab, which is why we're not really having any issues with like the discoloration at all. These are pretty much perfect bars. And even the ones that do have a bit of a different colour, they're still going to be sold like normal, because it's still a perfectly good watermelon soap. But yeah, they all look a little bit different. I think it really adds to the handmade nature of these soap bars, to be honest. Look how gorgeous these are. Okay, so here is the batch all cut up. I think there's about 70 or 80 soap bars here. What I'm going to do now is get these in a crate and then put them by the dehumidifier for a couple of weeks, and then we're ready to sell. How gorgeous. Right, while I'm here, I'm going to clean my soap cutter down just so it's done. It's really good practice to do this, because some days we are cutting soaps back to back. So we just want to make sure it's clean. And also, we don't want it to go rusty. So it is good to clean it down straight away. Right, there we go. The cutter is now pretty much clean. I'll give it a thorough clean soon, but I've got the majority off. Now, we just need to get the soaps in the crates, and we can put them by the dehumidifier. So these are my crates. They have little holes in them because it allows the air to get through and aerate around the soaps, and it allows the dehumidifier to suck all the extra moisture out the bars to make them nice and hard for me. So we're going to put them in here. I'm not too specific with how much gap there needs to be in between them all, but like 1/2 centimetre or so. And this will just help the air to get around them again, like we said before. I'm going to keep these scrap pieces of soap out actually, and let these aerate to the side for now. We're going to go put these soaps on the drying shelves, and I'll show you what they look like in just a moment. So this is Dave, the dehumidifier, and he just really helps to suck all the moisture out of the soap bars and keeps them nice and dry and hard. We keep them by the soaps all the time because when it gets quite cold in here or too hot, the soap bars are a humectant, and they, like, especially the salt ones, and they draw the moisture from the air, and it looks like they're leaking or like they're sweating, when actually it's just the moisture sitting on the soap bars. So we keep Dave on 24/7, and he just keeps the humidity at a really good level in here. Whether it's really cold or really hot, the soap bars will stay perfect. And especially while we've got soaps curing. At the minute we have nothing on the curing shelves really. Quite empty at the moment. So let's go get the watermelons, we can put them on the shelf. Okay, here's my little crate of watermelon soaps. Let's put them on there. And that is where they're gonna stay for a good couple of weeks now. There we go. Okay, that is the end of our watermelon scrub soap making video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. If you really liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you really like to watch this video, go and join us on the other social platforms. We really love Instagram and TikTok and Snapchat as well. So check the description below for all the details, and I'll see you next week.